Marking and cutting of fabric for an A-Cut petticoat. As we have constructed the pattern for an A-Cut petticoat, we can now see how to mark and cut the pattern on fabric. At the end of this session, you will be able to mark pattern for an A-Cut petticoat on fabric, cut fabric along the drafted lines. First, let's familiarize with the tools and materials required for marking and cutting the pattern on fabric. They are 25 inches or 60 centimeters of white cotton fabric, pattern square, French curve, tailor's square, measuring tape, tailor's chalk, and shears. We will change the view of the pattern that we constructed for the convenience of drafting on fabric. Since the fabric we are using here is plain color, we don't need to look for the direction of the fabric. Let's see how to fold the fabric for the back borders of the A-Cut petticoat. From the selvage edge of the fabric, measure the bottom hem width of 11 inches and make a mark. Fold the fabric lengthwise over from this mark and press the fold. Ensure that the selvage edge is parallel to the fold. Before we continue, let us check if the double folded cut edge is in a right angle, and if not, we will correct it with the help of a pattern square. First, let's see how to mark the back borders on the folded fabric. The corner where the cut edge and the fold meet is point 12. From the cut edge and along the fold, measure the full length including seam allowance of 23 3/4 inches and make a mark. This is point 0. Draw a right angle line using a pattern square from the fold starting from point 0. This is the shoulder line. Along this line, measure 7.5 inches and make a mark. This is point 2. Then from point 0, measure along the fold the waist length plus seam allowance, which is 11 3/4 inches, and make a mark. This is point 1. From point 1, draw a right angle line to the fold. This is the waist line. From point 2, draw a right angle line to the shoulder line, which is also parallel to the fold and along the selvage edge up to the waist line. Where this line and the waist line meet is point 10. Then find the midpoint between point 0 and point 2 and make a mark. This is point 3. Mark 1 inch on either side of point 3. The one closer to you is point 4 and the other is point 5. From point 4, draw a right angle line for about halfway into the bodice. And from point 5, draw a right angle line for about halfway into the bodice. From point 5, measure 1/4 inch down and make a mark. This is point 6. Connect points 4 and point 6 in a straight line. Starting from point 2, measure along the selvage edge 4.5 inches and make a mark. This is point 7. From point 7, draw a right angle line until it meets the line drawn down from point 5. From point 0, measure along the baseline, quarter of chest, which is 4 inches, and make a mark. This is point 8. Then measure 1 inch upwards from point 8. This is point 9. From point 8, draw a right angle line until it meets the line drawn down from point 4. From point 9, draw a right angle line for about 1 inch into the bodice. This is a reference for shaping the curve. Starting from point 9, shape towards point 4, joining the straight line. Here we used a French curve to show you the proper way of shaping a curve. But if you don't have a French curve, then you could curve it freehand. This is the back opening. Again, starting from point 8 in a right angle, shape towards point 4, joining the straight line. This is the front neck opening. Next, starting from point 7, we will shape the front armhole. Start drawing along the straight line, then curve into the bodice and join the line at point 6. This is the front armhole. Now we will shape the back armhole. Again, start drawing from point 7 along the straight line and continue to shape a curve, joining the straight line at point 6. This is the back armhole. From point 10, measure 3 by 4 inches to the left and make a mark. This is point 11. Connect points 7 and 11 in a straight line. From point 12, measure along the cut edge the width of the bottom hem of 11 inches and make a mark. This is point 13. Connect points 11 and 13 in a straight line. Shape the side seam at the waist in a soft curve from one straight line to the other. Then, from point 13, measure 3 by 4 inches upwards and make a mark. This is point 14. Again from point 14, measure 1 inch upwards and make a mark. This is point 15. From point 12, measure 1 inch upwards and make a mark. This is point 16. From point 16, draw a right angle line which is also parallel to the line connecting points 12 and 13. From the straight line, starting from point 12, shape in a soft curve to point 14. And again from the straight line, starting from point 16, shape in a soft curve to point 15. Mark midpoint between 15 and 14 and shape 1 by 8 inch inwards. Thus, we have completed marking the back piece of the A-Cut petticoat. Here, we are highlighting the cutting lines for demonstration purpose. Now we can cut along the drafted lines. Start cutting from the bottom hem to the side seam. along the back armhole, then the back neck opening, and finally the shoulder line. Thus, we have cut the back piece of the A-cut petticoat. Next, we will make a copy of the back bodice. Fold the fabric over along the lengthwise grain. Place the cut back bodice over the folded fabric. Ensure that it has the same width. Now, cut close to the back bodice all around, but be careful not to cut inside it. Now we have two back pieces. Take the first drafted back bodice and cut along and front armhole lines. And the front neck opening. Thus, we have got the front bodice. Now we have a front piece and a back piece for our A-cut petticoat. In this session, we have marked and cut fabric for an A-cut petticoat. Before we conclude, let's take a look at the key steps involved in marking and cutting pattern for an A-cut petticoat on fabric. They are: Step 1. From the selvage edge, measure and mark 11 inches and fold the fabric lengthwise. Step 2. Now mark the full length, shoulder line and waist line. Step 3. Shape the back neck, front armhole and back armhole curves. Step 4. Mark the bottom hem and side seam. Step 5. Cut along the drafted lines along the back neck opening and back armhole. Step 6. Place this piece over the folded fabric and make a copy. Step 7. Cut along the drafted lines to get the back bodice. Step 8. Cut along the front neck opening and front armhole line of the first cut piece to get the front bodice. With that, we have come to the end of this session.